All right, good morning. Welcome to Trendy Options. It is President's Day. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. It's a very long weekend. And for a lot of us who are day traders, it feels like an eternity. So here we are. It is Monday, the 17th, February 2020. This is going to be a review of our swing trades. And we did have a member ask if I would kind of cover PACE and ATVI because they really liked and enjoyed the trade and just kind of wanted to see the thoughts behind it. Before we get into that, let's just go ahead and look at the trades that I'm looking at into this week. I will tell you, I've changed course going into this short week. So we have about 4 days, and as most of you know, I've begun to not really appreciate Fridays, meaning they just kind of tend to flop around. And it's just not my favorite day to trade. Now, that can change, but again, I like to approach Friday and just look at the first couple hours and get a good idea if it's going to be a good day or not. Because we are coming into a short week, I've decided to pull back a little bit on the focus and the swing trades. And so what I mean by that is I'm going to come into the mornings with only one focus trade and one backup focus trade. Basically, if that one focus trade does not work, then I'll have something in the back, meaning it's not doing anything, it's not pushing over a level that I needed to, or under a level, etc. Okay, so it's going to be a little less stressful. I went back and looked at my week, and although it was a good week, I felt very chaotic, and I expressed this over audio a few times over the last 2 weeks, and that's because in a bullish market, I find myself putting a little bit too many positions on, and although they're doing well, for myself, I don't like to have, I'd say more than probably 5 positions on at any time, especially when you're trying to switch from intraday trading to swing trading. When I come in the morning and I'm able to throw a focus trade out there, but I have 4 or 5 positions on, maybe even more actually, in these past 2 weeks, it really takes my attention away from that keyword focus. Not that I had any bad focus trades, but I just need to be level headed and clear and ready to trade. And I find that the best time for me to do that is when I don't have too many positions on. Again, I'm a day trader. This is not investing 101. And so we're just here to trade what we see based off of our levels and price action. Let's go ahead and get into UNH, and I'll kind of go over what to expect, what I was just talking about towards the end. So first things first, let's go ahead and get these in order. I'm going to go ahead and click on Apple. This one is not in the charts yet, but I just want to show you. So I love to watch Apple no matter what the market's doing. I feel it really gives you a sense of what, big money's in this. It's continued to push. It's very super strong here. It's above the 9 EMA. It did pull back 2 weeks ago, right to the tick. You can see that and pushed into our ME, or the monthly edge. We just closed over the ME, and matter of fact, it feels like we might have closed over the previous week's high. And I just want to check that really quick. Just almost, okay? So what I want to do is looking at the previous week high, I want to use that as a gauge, and I want to use the ME as support. We know that when we're above ME, we look for it to be supported until it's not. So this box is going to actually be not very deep. Let's go ahead and get our measurement off. I'm gonna click right here. Okay, that's our wick, and then we're going to go ahead and measure this previous week. Now, the cool thing here, this is what I mean about the edges and how they just end up being really awesome considering the methodology. So we know that the 23.6 is very important for us, but notice how the ME's been chilling here for 17 days, and now it is confluent with the 23.6. I love that. So I'm going to use my line just a tad under here. Okay, and then I'm going to go for this high over here, and I'm using my crosshairs. We're going to come up just a bit from there, and I'm going to place my neutral box here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and identify this. Okay, I like to have the solid lines just so you guys can differentiate between the targets. And then I'm actually going to just use the 38.2 here. Now, I don't want you to feel that this process is really this simple because it's not. When I break down the weekly candles, I may have daily demand in there. So I will change the targets themselves. Okay, so I'll kind of show you that here in a second. So the all-time high, I'm going to come up here. I'm actually just going to use the weekly, okay, the previous weekly high. Let's go ahead and take that off. And so we're getting there, all right? And we're just going to go into the daily here really quick and see what we have. Okay, and I'm just looking at some candle structure, and I could see that potentially this line itself could come down a little bit here to 321.62, but I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there because we have this 322 by 320, and it really does capture what I need it to. So we're just going to keep that there for now. I do like this. We have a day, two inside days. Okay, two inside days, looking for it to push up over this target, and then we can really get started. Let's go back to our weekly here, and I'm not going to do this for each one, folks. I'm just going to show you how I'm doing the blueprint here on Apple, just for something a little special for you technical traders. Let's go ahead and auto zoom this. Okay, that's what the chart looks like overall. I would say pretty parabolic, just a tad. All right, but looking like it's setting up for another push here. Quite incredible. So here we are on the weekly. Okay, I want to get some extension targets outside of that. Now, for me, depending on how long you want to trade this, I'm only looking for the next week or two. So I'm going to take into consideration the last 2 weeks of trend. I'm not going to use these candles because that's not really a trend, is it? So we're trending off of the 9 EMA. I'm going to use this pivot low here into the pivot high. Okay, just like this. And I'm going to get my 23.6 here. And I'm going to line up just so it's nice and pretty. And then I'm going to use the 38. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to take this off of here. So 327, if we could push above 327. Matter of fact, I'm actually going to do this for a double top. This is kind of how I do things. I look at them and then say, okay, you know, I would much rather play off of the double top because, you know, Apple can push. So we got this nice little curl comes up, meets this right here, okay? Potentially a small pullback, okay? Maybe even back to the ME. We don't know yet. But a push above the 327.98, I like to see it get into this section here at 333 by 336. So going into this week, we have a nice little box here. It's not too wide, and I like that. All right, and so give me 1 second here while I learn how to spell. I'm gonna put neutral there. Clean this up just a tad. Bring that right there. And this is going to be our setup going into next week. And just like I showed you in the broad market analysis, this is pretty straightforward, folks. We break out of here, looking to take the trade. Stops go underneath. Look at your delta on your options. We talk about that a lot. Looking for a price to come up into the double top here. A pullback slightly, okay? What you be looking at, whatever this trend is here, from here to here, don't let it get over or under 38.2%. Look for it to continue up. If we can hold this for a day or two, look for that move into 333. If for some reason we gap down on Tuesday, I don't want to necessarily go short this stock, okay? But for aggressive traders, if they want to go short, I'd be looking at a short setup where I put a stop above the neutral. Matter of fact, well, because it's strong, I'm going to put a stop just right above the ME, okay? And then try to trade into here. I said if I was being aggressive. The overall trend is up. I personally like to see on any gap downs here in the market until proven otherwise. I just like to watch it. So let it come back down, set an alert for right above the ME, And when that alert is tripped, you know that price has wrapped back around, has reclaimed that. Then I can start the trade again to the upside, okay? And we can use the ME as a stop, which is the bottom of your neutral as well. But what's happening is you're trading inside the box and looking for the break. So you're actually buying at a lower price with this sort of setup. Again, it looks different if we gap up. So if we gap up and price gaps up, let's just say Tuesday gaps up right into our target, folks. I'm not going to take that trade right away because now my stop under here and here is way too wide for me. So for me, that's like $4, right? So what I want to do is just give it the day. I could do two things here. If it pulls back, it makes me really happy. It keeps the neutral. I could take the trade there. If it breaks this target here, but just barely breaks it, could look to get into Apple and now use 327 just underneath here as a stop and then trade this up into the 333. Okay, different scenarios for all of this. The biggest thing to understand is we're in an uptrend. Okay, technically it's coming right into the 9 EMA. It pushed above the accelerator. When we push above the accelerator, we look for the ME touch. You can see that happen very nicely there. Okay. So that's Apple. Now let's go ahead and go into ADSK as these are all set up for you. Let's look at this on the daily so I can give you an idea of what I'm looking at. Okay, nice fluid movement here off the 9 EMA almost every single time. The last time it came back into here was February 3rd. I apologize. And then there's a little bit of separation here. Nice ascending triangle forming. If we break out over the new weekly edge that's coming, I'd be looking for a little double top there, kind of like Apple. And then ultimately looking for that move to push up into our extension targets, 213 and 214. Okay, 215, 213. That's what I'm looking for there. Now, what would be the stop on this? Okay, whatever that weekly edge is, let's just say that it's, in the same spot. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use, okay, let's go over here to the weekly actually. Okay, just like this. I'm going to use the bottom of the weekly candle, and notice that the bottom is pretty much in line with the top of this guy. We see that a lot. So I'm going to use just under here as a stop around 207 and a quarter. So it'd be a pretty tight stop if we don't gap up extremely too big and all things work out here. I got this yellow box down here because we have a little bit of demand. It's just going to alert me if price does pull back into the ME. I would wait for, if for some reason, let's just say it's a down week, I'd wait for it to come back into the 9 here. And once it reclaims, looking at taking the trade and trading this back up just like that. Okay. All right, so ADSK, as far as options go, I make it really simple, folks. I like the Delta 30s in most cases. So I'm usually looking at Delta 30 to Delta 40. That just means that the price of the option will go up $30 to $40 for every dollar move that ADSK moves in your direction. Okay, that's how you figure out your risk. Let's go down here into Beyond. So what do I like about Beyond? It's going from red to white. If we go back and we study, in most cases, red to white leads to green, and you would see that on the daily, but this is a little bit newer, red to white to green, especially on the daily. Here on the weekly, we came into the accelerator, okay? The previous week, we pushed right into the EMAs, and they were pinching nicely here. And now you can see we are actually curling up. Okay, and what I want to see is a green candle come out of a cross on here, and then we're moving up into, and we know this, we've been talking about this for 2 weeks, looking for the move into 126.84 and 133. Neutral 116.55 by 110.61. Again, this is wider than normal. Okay, I need to see the weekly edge when we get there, when we open up, and I may tighten up this box, and if I do, I'll send out a new blueprint. Okay, So that's what I'm looking for on Beyond. Now, Triple M's interesting. Reminds me of FedEx. It definitely does not have a beautiful look. Okay, it's trending down. We have lower highs, but we have a higher low. So now we're kind of sideways until we're not. Now, what has my interest is we've come into the yearly edge, just like we did on FedEx, okay, and the ME. It almost looks as if we got that flush low. So here's the thing, right? So we came down into the yearly, and I just want to explain this very well so people understand what flush low really means to me. See, the methodology says, see, John, it's working. The YE is working. Let's go long. And typically, a lot of people are sitting in this area. So demand traders, check this out. You have some demand here. Okay. So people will get long, but then they get flushed out on a flush low. I love flush lows because that means most people got caught trying to go long on their strategy here. Okay. But they get flushed out here or they don't believe. That's why we have a different strategy and we wait for the reclaim and so forth. So we got the reclaim, we got a higher high, we had the monthly edge here. I really like this trade. Looks like it wants to hook. I'm looking for targets into, you can use these wicks, folks. You know, you could set at 165.45, you could just use, close to here around 164 to 165 for your first target and so forth, and then we'll go on from there. We'll look for the move into the EMAs. Okay, so when these EMAs swoop down, they'll probably stall this for quite some time. And then once it rebalances, goes neutral, then we get the breakout into between the Excel and the decel. And then we get the breakout above the accelerator back into the ME. So the bigger picture is 179 to 180. You can see here on standard deviation moves, just looking at MM, you can see these are kind of standard. Okay, right here, and this looks like right there. So you can see my arrows are pretty close, like this one, and this one are pretty close. All right, so that would put us roughly, right there. So right up to my accelerator, which makes sense for right now. And that accelerator is at 173.25. So it's got some room to move, folks. And I love the fact that 161 by 157, that's pretty nice risk to reward. Okay. Now, can price break down even further? Of course it can. We want to always look left and see where price was coming into. When I look here, you can see I have my arrows. Okay. So if we take these arrows and just kind of in that area, it doesn't match up perfectly. So the origin of the move comes further down here. Okay. So on the short side, if things don't work out, and price starts breaking down, we get a lower low underneath the edge and a solid down pressure candle, then I'd be looking for a move all the way down here to 140. But for right now, it looks like it could move nicely. Now, I don't know a lot about companies. I don't dig into what they do. Obviously, I know what 3M company is. I don't know everything they make. I don't know if they have anything to do with like masks and such. I think they do for medical supplies. So this might be a good company going forward as far as the virus and stuff that's out there. Maybe some of you can help me out with that. So, anyways, technically, that's all I'm looking at. Technically, looks like it could have a nice bounce here. PayPal put this out there. I actually put this out there before this move happened on Friday. So if you're just watching and you played the move, you made a little bit of money just for that move out of here. But our neutral 122.57 by 120 looks like it wants to continue up here. Look for 124.40, 126.84 has pushed over all-time highs. Now, once it does that, I want to see the check back. So it'd actually be really nice, right? If it gave me a little bit of time and it pulled back into here, okay, and then I look for it to make higher highs out of the neutral, then I want to take it, into these targets here. Okay, so nice little cup pullback handle. Okay, so again, neutral reward up here. This one's pretty straightforward. Looks really pretty. And then we have UNH. UNH weekly ATR is about $14. Nice little flush here, down all the way into the monthly edge. Worked very well, also into your 22 EMA. Then pushed above the accelerator into the ME. Surprise, surprise. And then here we are, 297 by 302. This is what I'm looking at to get long. And matter of fact, I can play the inside of the box here. Okay, I just want everyone to understand that. I may not wait for the break of the neutral. And this would be called front running the system, meaning I don't go in full size. So I could just buy, I'm just going to get hypotheticals here, one contract in the box. It does this and then turns around on me. I'm not freaking out because I only bought one. Okay. But say by Wednesday, Thursday, it does something like this. Then I can add right here, and I'm looking for that move into 313 and so forth. All right. So that is UNH neutral 297 by 302. Again, weekly ATR is 14. I'm more interested in just basically once it breaks above, going long and putting stops underneath that 297 area. Okay. So again, I'm going to keep the list swing list short. If you want a chart specifically for you, you can reach out to me and I could put one together for you really quick and send it to you privately. But I want to keep the chat clean and only focused on the charts that I have available here. Now, going into focus trades, like I said, I'm going to do one focus trade and then one backup focus trade. So what does this mean? Basically, we'll come in the morning and we'll go over the focus trade. And if it's not doing what we need it to do, I'll have a backup. Or even if the backup's not doing anything, then I'll be scanning and you may get like a random trade that we weren't even talking about. Okay. And that's very, very possible. You just never know. Okay. So going into this week, again, for a short week, I want to just kind of calm down a little bit while we're at a lot of all-time highs and just take it one by one. I'd rather deploy a little bit more capital or allocate more capital into just one or two trades than having a bunch of trades out there. Okay, so that's my focus again going into this week. All right, so let's look at two trades that member have asked me to take a look at and just kind of go over because they really enjoyed the trade. Now, this one itself, it was simply because it came into the 9 EMA. It pushed back in and then it held the accelerator decelerator. Okay, strong stock. Fundamentals, that's right, folks, fundamentals. Can you believe I said that? So this is a strong stock when it comes to fundamentals. And so, you know, it took over the 9. Basically, we were looking at it to break here. It held. What I mean, it held between these two spots here. Okay, when it holds between these two spots, we look for the ME. I would not be surprised if the market continues to gap up into tomorrow's open. We can see Pacey gap up into this 318, 319 level. Again, this setup right here, I target the ME. The wider it is from here to here, kind of gives you that opportunity to find options that are a lot cheaper than what people are expecting. Okay, so that's the setup on Pacey. What you're looking for going into Tuesday is a push probably right here into the ME. You have a lot of down pressure in this candle here. It could pop up here and then probably pull back. I could be wrong. All right. If it holds the ME 318, let's just call it 319, look for it to come back and on a higher high, we could make our way up here to around 335. Let's go over the next one. They asked about ATVI. I have not touched this chart. Okay, we took this trade. And as you can see, our T1 worked perfect. Okay, I can't make this stuff up. The targets were there before. Okay, the target was there a long time ago. The neutral box was there. We try to make this as easy as possible. It's not a guarantee. We look for it to break above the neutral. We take the trade. Stops go in underneath the neutral. We look to trade into the targets. Once we get to target, you know, do you sell? Do you trim? It's all personal preference. And then we look for the next target, you know, this guy. And then I ultimately have 66, 67, 68, 87. And if we come into the weekly, You can see here, nice rounding out here. Matter of fact, this was the beauty. This was the beauty of 42. Okay. This was right here. Demand came right into demand. Took a long time to kind of develop, but it did its thing. Okay. Now it's working its way up into the supply zone right here. Again, that's around that $68 level. This could still continue to be a great swing trade for another $5 or so and ultimately $78. All right, those were our swing trades going into this week. I hope everyone's doing very well. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Again, my focus this week is being nice and calm, uh, looking for the best probability trades. Let's have a fantastic week. I look forward to trading with you tomorrow. And as you guys can see, it's kind of cool. So I put my stream deck together and I'm still messing around with it. But I have some hot buttons on there that do some really cool things for me and make my life a lot easier. So really cool device. If anyone's interested in what that thing really does, just reach out to me. I think it's super cool. Have a nice day and we'll see you tomorrow morning.